Hi, y'all. It's Angela, and I'm back for another episode of Business Unveiled. And you are in for a very, very special treat today. I'm going to be interviewing an amazing speaker and trainer. And my favorite part, she is a chief storyteller, which has really gotten a lot of traction here lately. And so, also, Laura Khalil, I love that last name. It reminds me of like Kahlua, which I love Kahlua. Total squirrel moment. But Laura, she's a teacher. She's the host of, okay, are you ready for this? Top 100 Apple podcast. Like, oh my gosh. I hope one day I'll get there, called Brave by Design. And she really focuses on helping women. So ladies, listen up, especially today, to really achieve what is success. Like, it's incredible. It can be incredible. And just making sure that as women, we lead with a career and an amazing life and mindset. So she's a master storyteller. She consults with clients such as Twitter, GE, Intel. I mean, some major clients here, people, on how to use storytelling to improve the lives of their customers, which again is all loops back to branding, which is a big buzzword these days. And so we're really going to talk about how to unlock that magnetic, ambitious woman. And men, you can listen to. I'm sure you can learn something here. But we're going to talk about how to rise, how to lead with empathy, and how to live with an abundant life. So, Laura, thanks so much for being here today.
Angela, thank you so much for having me. And I'm now inspired to potentially get my name legally changed from Laura Khalil to Laura Kalua because that sounds like so much fun.
Like I see you. So you guys can't see what I'm seeing. Like I'm gonna take a picture and post it on my Insta story, but like she's with this a beautiful dog. I'm like, is that your dog? And like I can just see you like with your dog and a bottle of Kahlua.
Yeah, yes, exactly. You know what? After this episode, you know what I'm doing.
Right?
Okay.
Right? And it's like I'm
Double
not.
fisting Kalua.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's like real I don't love coffee. Like I don't like the taste. I know I'm weird, but like if you put a little Kahlua and vodka in the coffee, it actually will give you a caffeinated response and it tastes better. So yeah.
Okay,
It's 10
these are
o'clock in the
these are
morning over
pro
here.
tips from you. These are incredible.
Right, right. But I'm super excited. Well, the thing is like my last name being Profit. I mean, it's spelled with two F's and two T's, but people are like, oh my
Mm.
God, you have the perfect last name. Is that a stage name from like a
Oh,
strategic branding? And I'm like, no, it's my ex-husband's last name and I kept it because everybody knew me as Angela
right.
Profit when I started my company. And I'm like, but it's two F's and two T's, but I'll play along with it, like whatever. But that was not ever like a plan, but it sticks. And so yeah,
It
when I saw your
works.
last name, I'm like, it makes me think of coffee and Kahlua. Anyway,
Well,
so
that's
first
hilarious.
before we dive in, and I want you to share, you have so much to share. And
Where should we begin, Angela?
right. So I'm just like, oh my God, I could talk to you about storytelling all day long. But before we dive into that, if you'll give our listeners a little bit of context, like tell us about
Hmm.
where did you grow up? How did you grow up? What was your journey to get to where you had that calling of,
Yeah,
okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have a podcast and I'm going to be a professional storyteller and help
yeah.
businesses really develop these things for their consumer and their customer. So where did it all start?
Welcome to Business Unveiled, the podcast designed to help you thrive in the creative community. Here's your host, events and productivity consultant, Angela Profit.
What's up, GSD leaders? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Business Unveiled, where we share expert tips and secrets from top creative industry professionals. You know, we're going to take you behind the scenes of our experiences, share with you what we've learned from them, and how it's made us stronger. Because no one said it's easy owning a business, right? But it's a lot more fun when you've got a strong support team around you. And that's exactly what we do at GSD Creative. We're right there by your side. And I'm so excited that you've chosen this podcast to take the first step in growing a productive, profitable, and successful, wildly successful business within the hospitality and creative industry.
Today's episode is being brought to you by 99 Designs. 99 Designs is the global creative platform that makes it super easy for designers and clients to work together to create designs they absolutely love. You can get creative concepts from a multitude of talented designers. You get matched with the perfect designer to help you bring your idea to life from start to finish. From logos to packaging, apps to books, 99 Designs is a faster, simple, and affordable way to find and work with creative talent. You can save $10 today on your first design by visiting bit.ly/AP99designs. Give it a try.
Well, it's funny because let's go back to my last name. My last name is spelled Khalil, Khalil, and that's a foreign sounding last name. And in fact, my parents are both immigrants. My dad's from Egypt and my mom is Lebanese.
Wow.
And I always like to joke that I'm the whitest Arab you'll ever meet because
You are.
because I am so freaking pale. But my parents were immigrants. My parents came to the US and, they are really the definition of the American dream. So when I was growing up, I was always told, Laura, work hard, show your worth, act like when you go work in a company, act like it's your company, act with that degree of agency over it. And that's going to help you rise. And that's what my dad did. That's what my mom did. So I said, okay, I'll go do that. So I ended up cutting my teeth in Silicon Valley. I was working in content marketing as one of my early jobs in the field. And I was very young, very driven, very ambitious. And I would go into the boardrooms and I'd see what the guys were doing. And I'd see how they'd advocate for their projects and move things forward. And I'd remember what my dad always told me. And I said, all right, Laura, here we go. We are going to, advocate for our stuff, just like them. And I did that. And after a little while, my boss came to me and he said, hey, Laura, we've got some feedback for you. And I said, okay, great. I love feedback. I want to rise. I want to, run a business and stuff like that. I always knew that. And he said, well, you're intimidating the men in the boardroom.
Oh my God. About $1 for every time someone said that.
I know, right?
That's great. Don't
You're
you love
intimidating
that?
the men. And he said, so we're going to need you to soften your language and smile more. And if I hear that today, I mean, I would laugh you out of the room. But you tell that to someone in their first job experience who is just getting started. And it was like, Angela, it was so crushing for me because I felt like there was something wrong with me.
Aw.
I know. But this is the story. We gotta, this is what happened. It's why I do what I do today. And so I ended up leaving that job and I ended up kind of repeating that experience over and over and over for about 6 years, where I would go and I'd work in these companies and I'd try to be bold and I'd try to put myself out there and I'd keep getting knocked down. And in 2013, I said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting a different result. And I'm feeling pretty crazy. So I decided in that moment to stop being a victim of my history in the job world and start to become a master of my destiny and take my life by the reins and begin to rewrite the story of where I wanted to go. And so I said, all right, I know that full-time employment is not for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my own marketing consulting business. Now, over the years, as I'd been working in these companies, I had really learned a lot about tech marketing. That was my area of expertise. And I threw myself into it. I learned how to code. I learned how to speak like the developer language, developer speak, so to speak. And I said, I'm going to be a tech marketing consultant. And so I threw up a website over the weekend. I printed out some business cards. I told everyone I knew, this is what I'm doing. This is my big shift. And I'll tell you what, within 6 weeks of that, I did have, I mean, as everyone listening knows, I did have to hustle. I did have to go to a lot of meetings. I did have to, you know, create a lot of proposals for people. But within 6 weeks, I got my first Fortune 500 client. That was Intel.
That's
Then I
amazing.
got GE, then I got Twitter, then I got into it and the ball was rolling and I was building a multi six-figure business doing what I loved. And I realized that all of the traits that had penalized me as a full-time employee and as someone who was working in frankly quite toxic environments were
Mhm.
really my greatest assets as a leader and entrepreneur. And that is what set me off in learning how to use the storytelling skills that I had been cultivating over the years and bring them to a global stage with companies that were affecting populations around the world. It was really, really inspiring for me.
That's amazing. That
Thanks.
well, and but it's like they don't teach the shit in school, right? And like,
Mm,
I mean, I'm we're so similar because it's like, when I think my life is going so sour and it's like, working in a mental hospital and I'm like, what the F did I sign up for? Like, I can't do this. It's so depressing.
mm.
And then it's like my computer crashed. And I mean, this was when we had like big towers and like I
Yep.
didn't know what a floppy drive was and like iCloud didn't exist. And then my car got broken into and then my planner got stolen. And
Oh,
then it's like all
shoot.
these bad things were happening. But now, like, I look back 25 years ago and I'm like, those were blessings in disguise because it made me into who I am today. And it totally has shaped my story. And so until
Absolutely.
you go through that, I don't know if you have like a strategy of like how to come up with like your founder story and like, but you have to have a story.
Hmm.
And sometimes your story is vulnerable. And,
And many
sometimes,
stories are vulnerable. And,
yeah,
because we all face challenges.
yeah.
And kind of to your point, what I always tell people when we're thinking about developing our story and our personal narrative and sharing that with the world in a way to engage our customers, our clients, whoever, even if you're speaking on stage, whatever it may be, I always want you to know that your greatest challenges have often been the places where there's been greatest opportunity for growth. So
Mhm.
I say start there. What were the obstacles that you faced in pursuit of your goal? Because that's what people are going to relate to.
Mhm.
It's really easy for you or me or anyone who appears really successful to go to give a talk or to talk about their brand as if life is perfect and somehow I have achieved the pinnacle of success and and everything's just perfect, right? It's very
Mhm.
easy to do that because we have worked incredibly hard to get there.
Mhm.
But what people are going to relate to is how you did it. They're going to relate to the struggles. They're going to relate to the challenges because that's what they're facing. And I would encourage everyone listening to this to think about the struggles that you faced and how they were not in your way, but on your way to being successful, and tell that story because that story is the one that's going to both inspire individuals who are working with your brand and also empower them to reframe the challenges in their life as well. So that's really how I would always think of it whenever I would have a challenge, and even today when I have challenges. As you know, Angela, as our businesses grow, the challenges just get bigger. It's not
Mhm.
like we're dealing with the same challenges we dealt with when we were starting the business. It's just bigger challenges today. And
Yep.
so I want you to think about how is the challenge I'm facing right now the perfect opportunity for my growth, the perfect opportunity for what I value and how I'm trying to move the company forward. Why is this the perfect challenge for me right now? Because if we don't go after challenges we want, I guarantee you're going to get a bunch of challenges you don't want.
Right?
Yeah.
Totally. So for people that are listening and they need just coping skills like with the stress and the anxiety and the fear
Mm,
of like the unknown, which
Mm-hmm.
is a great topic right now, just
Mm-hmm.
because there are a lot of people who either they're entrepreneurs, they own their own business, or they've been laid off or they're furloughed because there's so much uncertainty and noise in the world right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are some coping opportunities?
I would love for everyone to let's just start with some very simple mindfulness exercises.
Mm-hmm.
And let's start first by getting connected to breath. We know that when we get present with this in the very moment that we're in, everything is fine. Everything's okay. We can be at peace in this moment. Where we get into stress and anxiety is when we start to compare the current version of life to a past or to an imagined future. So let's get really present, and get present by taking a few really deep breaths. Get present by focusing on, one of the techniques I really love and I've learned is to take, both of your hands, take one hand and take your index finger
Mm-hmm.
and trace the outline of your other fingers. Just go up and down your other fingers with your index finger around them, like you're tracing the outline, and just allow yourself to feel that sensation. And do that 4 or 5 times and just focus on your hand and focus on the movement of your index finger around all your other fingers, around the sides of your palm, beneath your palm, up to your thumb and around a few times. And it's a great way to just get present and to
Mm-hmm.
just calm down the nervous system. We're not going to Nobody is going to get into a visionary state of thinking about their future if they are in a place of fear. Okay, so when we are in fear, when we are enwrapped in fear, and when we are enwrapped in fear of the unknown, you cannot think clearly about what you want to happen next. So, mindfulness to get us present. The second thing I want you to begin to think about, if you are stressed and anxious and overwhelmed right now, is an exercise I give all of my clients. Now, this is one of the most transformational things you can do, friends, if you do it. But I'm going to give it to you, and you're going to say, "Oh, that sounds really hard. I can't do it." Okay,
Let's all
that's
try.
the caveat. Okay, but I'm telling you, if you do this, it's going to shift your life. It's going to shift things. It's going to shift your way of thinking, and that exercise is, how is this current situation I am in, whatever that is for you, what are the benefits of it to the things I value most in life? So 25 benefits. I want to see 25 benefits to your current situation as it benefits your life. Because what's happening right now is that you have made a decision to see this as an insurmountable obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
This is a mindset thing. Our mind has a negativity bias. The brain has a negativity bias, and that is just science. And the reason for that is because it's trying to keep us alive if in case be a lion behind us or danger, or we're going to get eaten in the jungle. So, right? Okay. So the brain always goes to the negative. So we have to work really hard and begin to build the neural pathways to shift that thinking. And so instead of saying, why is this the worst thing that's ever happened? And if anyone's been laid off, I feel you. I have a PhD in getting laid off before I actually started my own business. I know how demoralizing that is. I know how upsetting it is. So instead of saying to yourself when you get laid off, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. I don't know how I'm going to get forward. Don't know how I'm going to move forward. I want you to say, or you've lost your clients. You're a business owner. You've lost clients. You're really struggling right now. You don't know what you're going to do next. Why is this shift the best thing ever for your business? Why? Tell me 25 benefits of what's going on, and it will shift your thinking. I promise you, on how you view the current challenge. You'll begin to see all the opportunities that are present in this current moment. And that is a real game changer, because then we can think about moving forward. I mean, I'll tell you what, Angela, listen, when coronavirus hit,
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest challenges for me is I'm a publisher. So, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, folks, but like you go from speaking on stages to seeing
Mhm.
every single event you have lined up for the year canceled.
Mhm.
Okay, yes, that's scary. Yes, that is upsetting. So I am with you if you are feeling like my business has radically shifted. I don't know where I'm going. I understand you. What this time has really allowed me is to accelerate my business forward in ways that I thought, oh, well, I'll just do that in a year when I have more time, or I'll do that in 2 years when I have more time. And it's been like, no, 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 now's the time. And so it's really been like, uh, kind of like jet fuel for me in a
Mhm.
way to go through this crisis. There have been huge opportunities in here for me, for my business, and I'd encourage you to begin to look for them in your business. I guarantee you they are there. We have to let go of the desire to want to control how we think it should be and accept what is and accept how this is an incredible moment for you. Think about that. Just reflect on that. If you're feeling resistant to it, that's okay. Come back to this, reflect on it, and think, okay, maybe there was something there that she said that I can take with me and that I can incorporate. That's all, you know?
Yeah. And like also like one of my closest friends, he is an amazing celebrity wedding cake designer. And
Ooh.
we both worked in healthcare. We didn't know each other back then. But we started our businesses around the same time, like in the events and wedding community.
Mm.
And he got laid off from his job. And at the time, he was married to a woman with 2 kids. Now he's married to a man. And
Mm.
so,
Okay.
but
Hey, good for
he's
him.
very public. Yeah, he's very public with it. He's like, I hid behind food
Oh,
for
wow.
like trying to live the life that my mother and father wanted me to live in a small town. And he's like, I loved my kids. And he's like, I got laid off in healthcare. He worked in bariatric surgery, which he wanted to have bariatric surgery. And
Oh, okay.
so his story though is so great because it helps people reframe of exactly what you just said. He's like, I got laid off. It was my daughter's first birthday. And we literally had no money to like even go buy a cake for
Mm.
her. So he's like, so I learned how to make a birthday cake. He's like, the very first cake I ever made was for my daughter's first birthday.
Oh
And
my gosh.
so his founder story is when he got laid off in healthcare, it was the best thing that ever happened because he didn't
Yep.
know that he could like pump out this amazing kid cake and then it tasted amazing. And so then his wife's friends started to say like, well, can you make my kids cake? Which, that turned in. So he has no formal cake
Wow.
training, nothing. And so he's like, if that had not happened to me, I would never have really channeled like my inner
Exactly.
creativity. And then that also helped give him the confidence of he was able to save the money, have the surgery, and then, let his wife know, like, hey, love you and our kids, but like, not really. And so,
I'm into
but
men. That's
yeah, but
okay.
they are they're still best friends. And I mean, this
Good.
was 30, his daughter now is like 30 something. So I mean, this was like a long time ago and he's very
Wow.
comfortable talking about it now. But it's like when people say and they're so sad, like I got laid off or I got fired. I'm like, okay, I'm like, go look up Jay because if you watch all the TV
Seriously.
shows and all the success that he's had, like he has been living out. I mean, not that it's ever easy. And I mean, there's always been hard times and he's closed bakeries and open bakeries and help people. And now he's kind of
Mhm.
retired and he just helps people do it. But if you look at that, it just reminds me of his story and he wouldn't care that I'm
Yep.
saying all this, but it's just like, exactly what you're saying. Step back and think, okay, what can I try or what can I do? And sometimes those things come out of complete
Mhm.
necessity. And oh my gosh, I may
Mhm.
like this better. I mean, I don't know. Are you on TikTok? This is a
Right.
total squirrel, but like, do you watch TikTok videos?
That's hilarious. You
Like,
know what? I got on there a couple weeks ago and
me
I
too.
spent like 4 hours
Uh
straight and
huh.
I said, Laura, take off
It's,
your phone or
yeah.
you are going to like have a problem. So I'm on there, but I can't look at it because,
Okay. Okay.
OMG, it's too
Yeah,
much.
I get it. But like, my sister's kids love it. And I thought, "Ugh, I'll
Yes.
never be on that." I'm like, if this could only had been out when I was like in high school and a dancer, I could be like a billionaire right now just for doing
Oh,
silly
for
dances.
real.
And
For
so,
real.
kind of salty about it, but it's like, why didn't that exist back then? But I've actually learned a lot from it. So I like brag the kids that I help homeschool. I'm like, you work 3 hours, we do 3 TikToks. But what I've learned from it, and I only allow
Oh,
myself to watch it if I'm on the treadmill or 30 minutes before bedtime before we go to sleep.
I
And
love
I'm
it.
learning a lot of marketing techniques. And what I have loved the most is seeing these women on there. And it's like the 30, 40, 50-year-old women are taking over TikTok. But there is a business story in this, people.
I
Um,
love that.
yeah, what I'm loving is people who like there's some beauty influencers and people that have just been doing makeup tutorials and like sharing what they're good at. It doesn't mean they went to school for it, but there's several women that I've noticed they're like, I'm not going back to my job now because while quarantine started, I started getting into TikTok and just sharing what I'm knowing. And now they're being sponsored. I mean, it's not like you wake up and then you make $1 million overnight. Like nothing's easy, but they're actually like reaching out for consulting help on how to start and run a business because they're being approached and they want to pay because they have so many followers, So it's like, then my sister's kids tell me how, all these TikTok kids, they're not even 21 and they're worth like, I think one of the girl, her name's like Charlie or something. And I think she's worth like $80 million. And I'm like, WTF, like, why couldn't this shit exist when I was in high school? But we got to move with the times. We got to keep up with like where people are at. And right now, like some of our best clients to be are they're on TikTok, which is crazy. But it's crazy that it seems so easy to just like hold up your phone, do some dances, do
Hmm.
some tutorials, share your knowledge. Like we've actually made like a few fun dancing videos, but then we've made videos that actually like the number one question that I've
I
been
love it.
getting after a crazy ass tornado came through Nashville, and my friends that I'm like a crazy Apple expert, and they're like, my shit doesn't work. Like, I'm like, okay, it's real simple. And I know you're frustrated. Turn off all your stuff, reset all your Wi-Fi. I mean, this is like basic stuff, but when we're overwhelmed with stress, like we
Yeah.
just forget the simple things. And so I like made a little video about that. And it's like that got way more hits than like a silly dance video, but I still like doing them because
They're
it's
fun.
fun to be silly. So yeah, so I
And
think
Angela, can I just say you bring up like a really good point
yeah,
because the we as adults, okay, how many of us have forgotten what it feels like to play?
yeah,
And that idea of playfulness, of joyfulness, and also it's an embodied thing. So getting back into the body through dance, through movement, if people do yoga or
mhm,
exercise or whatever, that is so important for our recovery as we are feeling stressed. It actually can
mhm,
really help lower our stress, and it's almost like instant access to joy. When
yeah,
this whole coronavirus thing started, I love to dance, but I only love to dance like in my bedroom type thing. Like I'm not going to the club. That is not happening. But I will dance in my bedroom. And so I started taking dance classes on Zoom.
that's
And
awesome.
and I'll tell you what, for the first month of this pandemic, I was so joyful because I knew I could go to those classes and I could access that playfulness, and that just brought me immediate zap of joy. It was amazing. It was
I love it.
incredible. Yeah.
I
So
love
get
it.
into your body. It's the
Yeah,
best.
yeah. And like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like you be you and own it. Like you said, like earlier we
Exactly.
were saying like force of badassery. Like
That's
I
right.
love it. So I'm like completely going off, but like how did you two questions. Like one,
Uh-huh.
how did you come up with like I'm gonna call my company, which I kind of know from the story. It's like you are a badass woman and you're a force not to be reckoned with. And then so it's like, how did you have the confidence to just, this is what I'm going to call my business? And then how did you
Hmm.
come up with your podcast title of Brave by Design? Because they're both very strategic, I'm sure, but share those stories.
Well, force of badassery. is less strategic than you may think.
Okay.
So what happened was I'm involved in a lot of projects that that fill my cup, that fill my heart, that make me feel alive. Those include being here with you now, those include public speaking, those include consulting, and they include a lot of creative projects that I'm involved with as well. I do some write stories. I've produced stories for NPR. I've produced stories for other organizations. I love storytelling. Love, 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 love storytelling. And so one day I was telling a girlfriend of mine about all this stuff that I'm up to, and she said, "Laura, you're like a force of badassery." And
I
I
love it.
and I said, "You know what? Do you mind if I use that?" And she said, "No, use it." And I said, "Okay, I'm just going to claim it." And I'd encourage anyone listening to this to claim your success and to claim who you are. We are so comfortable, especially as women, we are so comfortable saying what's wrong with us. We're so
Mhm.
comfortable pointing out our flaws. And I'm not saying to be boastful, I'm not saying to be a braggart, but I'm saying if you could claim your wins as easily as you claim your losses, that makes you a balanced individual. And so for me, it's like, yeah, there is a part of me that's really a force of badassery. And I want to help give other women the confidence to speak about themselves that way and help them become
Mhm.
their own force of badassery in their life. So that's where that name comes from. It just stuck, and it's fun and it's silly and we can laugh about it. And,
Mhm.
so that's where that is. Brave by Design, the podcast, is really born out of my belief that being brave and developing the habit of courage, as I call it, is like flexing a muscle. And
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, I really believe that just as we can be very comfortable in anxiety, many of us have that automatic go to anxiety state where we begin to worry about things. I also believe that we can develop a mindset around courageous action and courageous intention. And so that Brave by Design is really built out of that notion that you can make bravery a habit of yours. You can make courage a part of your day to day life. And that doesn't mean, folks, that does not mean that you need to run into a burning building to be courageous. And for sure, those people are courageous. There's no
Yeah.
doubt. Okay. There is no doubt. But it starts by taking very small actions where my uh, my intentions as a human being, my will, my drive and desire are aligned with what I show up in the world as. That's brave because so many of us, let me just ground that for a second. So many of us are hiding behind a mask. We're
Mhm.
hiding behind a mask because we're afraid that if I actually show you who I am, you will reject me. You will not like me. I will not be seen as being nice or kind or good. And what I am suggesting is that by being yourself, by showing up and showing us the incredible gifts that you have to offer the world, and by helping serve others with those gifts, that is a form of bravery and that can be learned. And that's what we actually do on Brave by Design.
That's so awesome. That's wonderful. Like, that's awesome.
Thanks,
So,
Angela.
like, shifting a little bit, like, I know you work with all these literally huge, amazing, badass companies.
Yes.
And so I know that, like, there's some people listening that, they're growing. Their companies are
Mm-hmm.
becoming bigger. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because the other day we brought on two new people, and in my mind I'm like, oh God, here we go. More people, more money, more problems. But then I'm like, quit
Oh.
acting like that. I'm like, be excited. But then some days it's like I'm like running a playground. But like for the companies that are listening that like how can they address that whole like double standard, like when it comes to promoting like men and women, because I know that we're all
Oh,
about,
Lord.
women, which
Hmm.
I'm all about it. Like I just got into a new business venture with a business partner. She wanted to open a co-working space specifically to empower women. And I started off as just a consultant in the project. And then that turned into, can you just be the co founder? She's an
Oh,
amazing
wow.
creative, but when it comes to like business best practices, she's learning and she knows that. But so we're a
Mm,
great fit together. And so, but she's very much like rah rah re women. And I'm like, well, I have a lot of men clients. And so we
hmm
compromise. Like the ladies are upstairs, the men are downstairs. But and she had to go through a lot of legal work and stuff, but I never understood until getting into this venture where women have been treated differently by men. And the main reason she wanted to do it is because she went to the WeWorks, which I know it's one of your clients, and she went to the Industrious, and it was so surrounded by men and corporate feeling. And she's like, I want to create something that's
hmm
beautiful and girly. And I'm like, that's fine and all, but I never understood how different women were treated in the workplace because I'm the oldest child. I was raised by in a very aggressive, kind of mean dad, like not in a bad way. Like he was
mm,
wonderful, but I was raised where you take no shit off of nobody and you be aggressive right back. And so I didn't have those
hmm
experiences. I mean, maybe once or twice. And basically, I gave him the middle finger and told him, like, I'm not doing that for that. Like, I'm going to work for what I'm going to work for. Like, you can go F yourself.
Yep.
So,
Good for you.
but yeah, but like, not every woman has, I guess, as some people would say, like, oh my gosh, you have the balls to just say that. And I'm like, well, I was kind of raised by an asshole,
Hmm.
but I'm very thankful for that because it gave me a different upbringing. But
That's the
like,
thing. That's what it taught
yeah,
you.
yeah, and so I'm just like for women who don't have that foundation and the parents who are teaching them like
Hmm.
it's okay to stand up for yourself. It's okay to be aggressive. Like
Hmm.
it's not a bad thing. Like it's okay to go out
Yep.
there and keep going to get what you want, as long as you're not doing anything malicious or illegal.
For
But
sure.
how can companies deal with that? Because I'm even having to learn myself, at over age 40 here, like how to treat men and women, even in this like new co-working situation. So
Hmm.
what can people do to address it?
Okay, well, here's the first thing I want to say for any woman who's listening who thinks that that it is better to be nice than to be truthful.
Mm-mm.
That's doing you absolutely no favors. No
Oh,
favors at all. And I want to suggest a phrase from Brene Brown that has become one of my
love her.
mantras. Clear is kind. When I'm clear with someone, clear about my expectations, when I'm clear about what worked, what didn't work on a project, for example, or in a proposal, whatever it may be, I'm actually doing the kindest thing possible because I'm helping us actually deepen our connection, have a better mutual understanding of where we are in a project, and actually have better chance of being successful and moving it forward. So clarity, being clear in your language, very, very important for all of us to work on. I continue to work on that. That's a lifelong thing. But take some small steps towards being clear instead of just trying to be nice, masking what's really going on, because that doesn't help anyone solve a problem. Okay,
Nope.
that's the first thing. Nobody solves it. You're never gonna, it's always like I teach a lot of classes on how to have difficult conversations, and one of the things that I always tell individuals who attend that is, I remember being in the corporate world and I remember going out for happy hour with my girlfriends and sitting there and complaining about something someone said to me. Now, I totally understand we all have friends to get things off our chest. Absolutely. But if the most action you're going to take to solve a problem is complaining to your friends over a martini, that is not actually solving a problem. So, in order to solve problems, we actually have to get a little uncomfortable and confront the issue. Okay, we have to do that. Talking to your friends is not going to solve your problems. Talking
Mm-mm.
to the person you have the problem with in empathetic, clear, compassionate ways will help to solve your issues or bring clarity, bring light to them. And so I really, really strongly recommend that. For women specifically, there are very specific reasons, and the research bears this out, of why women do not rise in organizations and what holds them back. Now, 100%. When I say this, I want to be clear in that it's not like the brunt of this is on women to change. And I think that's where we need to sort of rethink things is yes, there are things women can do differently. Yes, there are things men can do differently as well. And so we have to learn to work together. But for the purposes of what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about some of the things that women can learn.
Mhm.
With bearing full respect, there are lots of things that men can learn too. And
Yeah.
we all need to learn. Okay.
Yep.
So for women specifically, the research bears out that women do not rise. One of the reasons is because women do not want to talk about their accomplishments in the workplace because they see that as bragging. They see that as being boastful. And so they assume more often than not that if I do good work, someone's going to notice it. And I want to give you a reality check. If you're a business owner or if you are an employee, nobody is going to know what you're doing unless you tell them. Okay, just assume that straight
Yeah.
off. Okay, nobody knows that you're a rock star except for you. So you need to get very comfortable telling people. And I'll tell you why, because anyone here who's worked with a man knows that you go into that weekly check-in meeting and you go around the table and say, okay, what have you been up to? What have you been up to? And some comes to some dude who says, listen, I've got some incredible news. I just fixed the printer. And we're all looking at him like, are you for real right now? Are you kidding me? Like, I just went and saved the world and you fixed the printer and you want me to, give you a pat on the back. Okay, buddy. But that's the
That's
kind
great.
of thing that men do that women don't. And so I want women, if you are a consultant, so how did I get these 6-figure consulting contracts?
Yeah.
How did I work with these folks? Well, first of all, you have to be a professional. And what that means, there's many things that means, but apply this advice to your situation. It meant that I set regular check-ins with my clients to apprise them of exactly what was going on with my work on their account, apprise them of new opportunities in the area, for example, of what their competitors might be doing. That's how we increase scope of work. And also let them know early when things may not be going to plan and come up with solutions to offer. So, what I always say to people, I don't care if you're full-time entrepreneur, please do not go to people with problems. If you're going to go to someone with a problem, I want you to come with a proposed solution. They may not use your solution, but I don't want you to be the person who's known as, oh God, she always has a problem. What's her problem now? What's her problem? No, you got a problem? That's fine. We all got problems. Go with the solution. Go hand in
Love it.
hand. Okay. And apprise the client or apprise your boss of here's what's going on with my work. Be proactive and do not be afraid to call out your wins. Do not be afraid to say, hey, we did better than expected on this. This is awesome. Here's what I'm proposing we do next. Or to say, and this is how you really increase scope of work with clients. Folks, listen to this. Go do competitive analyses. Do that every month and show the client what other people are doing. Okay, that's what we did with all these major clients. Show them, hey, here's what we're doing in this area, but I want to show you what your competitor's doing. And this seems to be really taken off for them. And would you like us to begin to add that kind of that to our work? That's how you increase scope of work tenfold, which we did. Okay, that's the type of thing that is how we become very proactive with clients. We become the ones that they go to, the experts that they come to. I want you to think of yourself in any role that you're in as you are not just there to perform a task. You are there to solve a problem and to create solutions that impact whatever their market is. And that's how you go from being an hourly worker or a low wage worker to getting 6 and 7 figure contracts.
I totally agree with you that the people that come and they're like complainful, but then they have
Mm-hmm.
no solution, I
Right.
kind of
Forget
can't
it.
deal with that, you know?
Forget
It's
it. Get
like,
out of my way.
I, yeah, it's like, okay, well, what the F do you want me to do about it? Like, if
Right.
you're, you know, I don't think it's a problem, but it's like, I don't want to shut people down either.
Right.
So I think this rolls into another great question. Like, really, what is your idea of traits of like a great manager or a great leader? Because great
Yeah.
leaders, I feel like, are encouraging people to always come with a solution. So what are just a few traits off the top of your head that really make that person
Well,
great?
I'm gonna start with, I think, the key one that we can all work on, which is developing our empathy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, and it's really, and what is that really about? That's about, you know, see, Angela, I think you and I are probably very similar. We're like kind of like ball busters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we're like, just get it done. Let's do it. Let's plug forward. Okay, not everyone else is like us though. And so empathy is being able to understand these different points of view and different perspectives and actually get curious and say, well,
Mm-hmm.
why do you say that? Like, help me understand. For example, to your point, if someone comes and says, I got a real big problem and here's the issue, and you don't think it's a problem,
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying it's not a problem, move on, we can say, why do you think that's a problem? How is that impacting your work? How
Mm-hmm.
is that impacting your life or career or the bottom line of the business? I want to understand. So we come with a place of curiosity to really listen. And, empathy, sometimes when we talk about this, people can say, oh, that's such a soft skill, or oh, that's so weak. But I want to tell you guys something. There's a great book. We had her on my show. Her name's Maria Ross. She wrote a book called The Empathy Edge. And
Okay.
what her research shows is that organizations that have empathy actually have higher profits, have higher
Okay.
employee retention, and have happier customers. Now, I mean, just listen to that for a second. And, we can think about, like, let's think of the examples of where we can see a company that doesn't have empathy and what it does to us. I think we all remember, or many of us remember, a couple years ago, that United Airlines flight where a gentleman was literally dragged out of his seat
Yeah, I remember that.
through the plane because they needed his seat for an airline employee.
Mm-hmm.
Now, come on, that is, empathy at zero. And we see how that affects people who say, I don't want to fly in that airline. I don't want to imagine working there and experiencing that and what that must feel like. Imagine how all the people on that flight must have felt to see that happen. So, that's a very clear display of a lack of empathy, and that can really hurt your bottom line. So when we are working in an organization and we're thinking about being empathetic, think about listening to what's going on in the lives of my employees. For example, we're in coronavirus right now, which is when this is being recorded. How
Mm-hmm.
are your employees dealing with potentially having their children at home, their spouses at home, and trying to work and trying to, get the breakfast, lunch, and dinner and teach and do the schooling and all this stuff? We have to, for a second, say, I acknowledge your position, and how can we help make this work for both of us? That's
Mm-hmm.
the way that powerful leaders operate. And it's a real game changer.
Yeah, I love that. It's just, as women, it's like we take on so much sometimes of like, we can
Mm.
fix this and we can fix that. And it's okay to ask for help. And we don't have to
Oh,
know
God,
everything all the
please.
time. Like, it's okay.
Please get
So,
help.
yeah, yeah, like seriously, people, come on. I mean, you can't be everything to everybody. Like, that's what I've learned. And it's
Yeah.
okay to say no. It's okay to say no. So as we wrap up, because I could talk to you all day long.
Me too, Angela. We got
I
to have you on my
mean,
show.
yes, I would love that. I would love
Yes,
that.
we will.
How do you develop, like one last just takeaway
Mhm.
for our listeners, like
Mhm.
how can they develop one habit of like having courage, being
Mhm.
authentic, creating connection with like their other colleagues and coworkers? Like what is one habit that they can create? One takeaway.
Okay.
I know it's hard, loaded
Here's what I
question.
want y'all to do, okay? Today, when you're in conversation with someone, I want you to state your true opinion on something. I just want you to be honest. I want you, when someone says, "Hey, I'm dumping work in your lap at 4 p.m. on a Friday. Could you get it to me by Monday at 9 a.m.?" I want you to explain what that would mean for your life to get it done.
I
Instead
love
of
that.
saying, "Oh, yeah, sure, no problem, because I'm a woman and I'm Wonder Woman and I can do all these things." I want you to tell them what that means for you to do that. I want you to help connect with people by being yourself and take a really small step. That's all, a really small step towards doing it. And that's the first step.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If people want to get in touch with you or go to any of your courses or anything like that, what is the best way for them to get in touch?
Okay, friends, head on over. You can find Brave by Design wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find it at bravebydesign.net. I also have a great course there on overcoming imposter syndrome, which really speaks to a lot of what we've discussed today. And also, you can find me on Instagram at Force of Badassery. You heard that right. And I do a lot of storytelling over there to help you with mindset training every morning to bring more confidence, clarity, and courage into your life.
I love it. And y'all be sure to go and follow and listen to Laura's podcast and subscribe to it because I already know it's awesome.
It's awesome.
Just
It's fun.
it is. Yay. And again, every day like we need to be reminded like get up, be brave
Yeah.
and fail fast. Like this is a good thing.
And
And
keep going.
yeah, 100%. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening today. And Laura, again, thank you so much for your invaluable resources and your valuable time. We so appreciate it. And
Thank you.
everyone, thank you for listening. And be sure to tune in next week to another episode of Business Unveiled. Everybody, have a great day. Bye.
Now that you have all the tools you need to conquer the world in GSD, just share this with your friends and your fellow GSD leaders. And be sure you're a subscriber so you never miss the juicy details of Business Unveiled. And you can ask Siri to listen to the latest episode, but you got to be a subscriber. Before I go, I have a huge favor to ask, and it would mean the world to me. While you're listening, snap a quick screenshot, post it to your Instagram story, tag me at GSD leader_, and share with me your top takeaway from this episode and how it relates to you. Until next time, remember, stay productive and profitable.
You've been listening to Business Unveiled with Angela Profit. Join us next time as we share our experiences to help you be more productive and profitable in your creative business. For more great resources, visit angelaprofit.com.